Lightning strikes again. Welcome to NHL Wraparound Short Shifts for Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. Vic and Neil with you. A few days ago, NBA analyst for ESPN Tim Legler was talking about teams around the league being borderline disinterested and that the play was just lackluster and not a very good watch. And of course, anytime I get a chance to take a shot at the NBA, I'll do that. But no such case in the NHL, where night after night, we're seeing great theater. And on Tuesday, 6 of the 7 games played were decided in the third period.
Which is what everybody wants to see, right? You don't want a game decided in the first period. So if you can get games that are close all the way through and thrilling, and that's certainly what these games are turning out to be.
So let's start off with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who keep rolling. 4-3 win over the Buffalo Sabres on Tuesday. No Anthony Cirelli, no Nick Paul. They were both injured in the Stadium Series game on Sunday, but no problem. They fall behind again late in the third period on a goal by Josh Doan with 5:07 left. But Darren Radish, his 17th of the season, ties the game with 26 seconds left. And then Nikita Kucherov with a turnaround pass along his own defensive end boards hits Jake Gensel for the overtime winner. So let me ask you, what is more impressive? Kucherov, back-to-back 4-point games. He has 31 multi-point games this season. Radish, a defenseman with 17 goals. He had 13 in 176 games entering this season. Or the Lightning, 18-1-1 in their last 20.
Well, I think they all are really impressive things. Kucherov, we've gotten used to seeing him do histrionics during the season. He's such a great player. I love the Radish story because I love guys that have had just a pedestrian career that all of a sudden come into the spotlight. This young guy has 17 goals this season. And then Jon Cooper and his Tampa Bay Lightning team now moving up to second overall and not that far behind Colorado. They're over 700 winning percentage. They've got a nice cushion on Detroit for first place in the Atlantic, I think with 3 games in hand. I think all of those things are impressive, and the Lightning, as you say, just keeps on rolling.
So let me ask you about a couple of other points here. And you just spoke about Jon Cooper. Has never won the Jack Adams before, has got 2 Stanley Cup rings, has won everywhere that he's ever coached. Given the amount of injuries, particularly on his back line this season, Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, Eric Chernak, this has to be the best coaching job that he has ever done.
Certainly, if coaching jobs are just dependent upon results, which it is a results-oriented business, I think you've got to say that Jon Cooper is doing just an outstanding job with this group. You know what? They have every excuse to not be as good as they are, and yet they just keep winning, and he somehow motivates his squad night after night.
As a former general manager, but you continue to look at the moves that are made on a daily basis. Radish is going to be 30 years old at the end of February. He's making $975,000 this year. He's a UFA. If you're Julien Brisebois, you have to keep this guy because he has literally saved your back end this season in more ways than one. What would you offer this player in the offseason to try to keep him?
I can't answer that really because I don't know him well enough. I'm not on the scene, and I don't know if this is real or is this the Warren Young syndrome, meaning Warren Young had that one great year with Mario Lemieux years ago and then got a huge contract from Detroit, never to reach those levels again. Certainly Radish is not going to go from 900 and something thousand to 6 or 7 million. That's just not going to happen. So you would think that they would offer him a multi-year contract, and I'd have to see the comparables, to be honest with you. I don't know, but he'd be obviously in the millions. But how far into the millions, Who knows? And again, does Julien Brisebois and Jon Cooper think that this is for real, or is this sort of a one-season one-off for this young guy? And when I say young guy, he's 30, but he's still young.
You watch this guy shoot, and now there are teams that are trying to defend him up high because his shot is showing to be on the level of your buddy Evan Bouchard and Philip Hronek in Vancouver, for that matter. This guy can really bring it.
And where did it come from? I mean, has he been interviewed? I'm sure he has been, but I haven't seen it in print or on a video, him saying why his goal scoring prowess has improved so drastically this season.
It's a great story, and Radish, one of the big reasons that the Lightning sit atop the Eastern Conference. But there's also a couple of other teams in the Atlantic that had big statement wins trying to end the longest playoff droughts currently existing in the NHL. Even though the Sabres did lose in Tampa on Tuesday in overtime, as we'd mentioned, they did win in Florida on Monday by a score of 5-3. They spotted the Panthers an early 2-0 lead, and they were on the verge of getting blown out of the building. Alex Lyon managed to hold the fort for them. They got it figured out. And the Sabres, third in the Atlantic and 7 points clear of a playoff position, something that they have not seen in 14 seasons.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can believe it, the Sabres are only 6 points behind the aforementioned Tampa Bay Lightning. Granted, they've played 2 more games, but I'm just trying to illustrate where Buffalo is suddenly. And when I say suddenly, if you weren't paying attention this season, it would be awfully suddenly that the Buffalo Sabres are well into the playoff mix. The Boston Bruins, who are the second wild card team right now, have 68 points, so they're not that far behind Buffalo. But it just goes to show you that Buffalo has had an unbelievable turnaround this season.
And another example of a game that, quite frankly, on Monday, they would not have come back and won a year ago or probably any of the 14 seasons prior to this. But let's now go to Detroit, where they were beaten soundly, 5-0 by the Avalanche on Saturday afternoon. And so they go to Denver for the return match, and they get a 2-0 win. John Gibson only had to make 21 saves, and this was a real buttoned-up effort by the Red Wings. And you remember, Gibson came over from Anaheim, and he was going to be looked upon as the guy that was going to end the 9-year playoff drought in Detroit. He's got a .938 save percentage on the road, and that is best in the NHL.
Tremendous job by Gibson. And you know what? It wasn't like that when they first got him. Yep. He didn't seem to be the savior. They were worried about him. But then he straightened his game around and now has been the guy that Steve Yzerman and Red Wing fans hoped he would be. We always knew he was a good goaltender in Anaheim for years, but they didn't have a good team in front of him. His save percentage was always good, even though he was with Anaheim. And now he's come to Detroit and is really one of the backbone reasons why they're in the playoff mix.
Second in the Atlantic, and if you had gotten to this game late or left early, you missed all the goal scoring because Marco Kasper scored 33 seconds in, and that held up into the final minute where Lucas Raymond scored an empty net goal with 31 seconds left. So Red Wings looking good as well. So other games of note on Tuesday, and I've got 3 that I've got listed here. The Columbus Blue Jackets beat the New Jersey Devils 3-0, scoring all 3 of their goals in the third period, 2 of them by Matthew Olivier. Elvis Merzlikins, his first shutout of the season, only had to make 24 saves. The Blue Jackets, 10-1 in their last 11, 9-1 under Rick Bowness, who has continued to stress strong play away from the puck, good defense, and it's certainly appearing that this is happening right now. The Blue Jackets are 5 points behind Boston for wild card 2 with a game in hand. But let's switch this over to Jersey for a second. After the game, Sheldon Keefe said, we were okay for 2 periods. In the third, we just wilted. Are they toast?
I think so. I mean, they're minus 27 in goal differential at this point. They just are not having a good year, and I don't know where you'd put your finger on it. But if you switch back up to Columbus for a moment, Columbus isn't got their sights set on Boston, I wouldn't think. They've got their sights set on the New York Islanders, who they're 4 points behind,
Yep.
and they have 2 games in hand. So if they win those 2 games, all of a sudden they're tied with the Islanders, and they're in third in the Metro. So that's where I would think that Rick Bowness, Don Waddell, and the Blue Jackets have their sights set on.
And that's a point that we did make the other day, that for the teams that are playing catch up in the Metropolitan Division, more than likely you're going to have to come in the top 3 there, because it appears that 5 teams are set to make the playoffs from the Atlantic Division. And of course, once we get to the back end of the Olympic break, we'll start to get into tiebreakers and things of that nature. But of course, very good point that you made there. And, let's bounce back to the Devils for a second. Played another game without Jack Hughes with that lower body injury. And if not for the failings of the New York Rangers this year, the Devils would probably be making more headlines, because they're 9th in the wild card race and 10 points back of Boston for wild card 2 and 9 points behind the Islanders for 3rd in the Metro.
They're not going to make it. It's too late. There's 56 games played by the Devils, which means that there is only 26 games to go. You can do the math pretty quickly. And the thing that really bothers me about the Devils, and you know me with this one, is that minus 27 goal differential.
Yeah.
Their goal differential is the same as the Rangers. They're 8 points ahead of the Rangers, played the same number of games, but they've let in 27 more goals than they've scored. That's not Devils hockey.
Let's go to the top of the Metro, where the Hurricanes beat Ottawa 4-3 on a late goal by Jordan Staal. Brandon Bussi, 22 wins this season, tied for 3rd in the NHL, 2.24 goals against. That is 3rd in the league. He is the number 1 goalie for the Canes, and he makes a great 2-pad stack save on Jake Sanderson with about 45 seconds left to preserve the win. So I think the big question here is, are we believing in Bussi? Because, as I just said, he looks like the clear number 1. He is clearly been playing better than Freddie Anderson. Pyotr Kochetkov is going to be out for the rest of the season. If you are Hurricanes management, and goaltending has been the rub for so many years, you believe in this guy, that he gets them over the hump?
I don't know about getting him over the hump, but he's definitely the guy. I mean, his record is incredible this year. He's 22-3-1, 905 save percentage. Of course, I want to mention, Vic, he's a Western Michigan University product.
I'm not editing that out, so...
No, you don't need to. You need to leave that in. Played for the Providence Bruins and then the Maine Mariners of the ECHL a little bit when he was sent down by Providence. Spent a number of years with Providence, actually played really well for them. Yeah. But then obviously was signed by the Hurricanes and has never looked back. He's from Sound Beach, New York, which, if you don't know, is up on the north shore of Long Island. Not drafted. Great story. Just a tremendous story.
Let's now go back to the Atlantic Division and talk about the Maple Leafs, who go into the break on a 3-game winning streak after being in a coma for the past 2 weeks prior to that. They win 4-2 in Calgary on Monday and then 5-2 in Edmonton on Tuesday. Matias Michelli with 2 goals. And even though Bussi had that awesome save on Sanderson, probably the best save of the night was late in the 3rd period by Anthony Stolarz on Leon Draisaitl with about 5 minutes left, and the game was 4-2. And of course, the Oilers have had all of these late comebacks recently, and this was not going to happen last night. The Maple Leafs, 5 back of the second wild card. But what's kind of interesting here, that if you look at the point totals, they would be 1 point out of first place in the Pacific Division.
Yeah, but unfortunately for them, they're in the East. They're 7 points back of the Sabres.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
7 points back of third place in the Atlantic. So the only way the Toronto Maple Leafs make the playoffs is if they can make up that 5 points of ground between them and the Boston Bruins, and they've played one more game than Boston. It's not going to be easy for Toronto. And again, going back to Neil's plus-minus thing, they're a -6 in goal differential.
Yeah.
That's got to be made up at some point if you're going to be in the green, as they say, and those teams that are in the green that have a plus goal differential are the teams that make the playoffs.
Still a long way to go for Toronto coming out of the break. They are done playing until late February. But let's look at the Oilers here. They just completed an 8-game homestand. They're 4-4, and on Monday we made the point that even though Vegas is in first, Edmonton is in second, they both have 64 points. The Golden Knights have played 2 fewer games than the Oilers. But like Vegas, Edmonton is guaranteed nothing. And there are a lot of people that are saying that after this homestand, the Oilers don't look like a contender. Maybe a playoff team, but not the club that made the Stanley Cup Finals in 2024 and 2025.
No, they certainly don't, and they haven't all year. Now, in the last 2 seasons before this, the Edmonton Oilers found a way to become contenders after the first quarter of the season, but they haven't done that this year. They're only 2 games over 500 on the road. They are 5-5 in their last 10. They've lost 2 straight now. They're just not the powerhouse that they have been for the last couple of seasons, especially coming down, the pike right at the end there to go strong into the playoffs. So we'll have to see. Will they get to play the LA Kings again in the first round to tune themselves up, or will they play the Anaheim Ducks? They're probably going to play one of the two of them.
I want to go back to Monday now, and we had 3 controversial game-winning goals scored by Ottawa, Dallas, and Minnesota, and I'm going to walk you through each of the 3. In the Senators' win in Pittsburgh, which was the first of their back-to-back, we'd mentioned that they lost in Carolina on Tuesday, Claude Giroux was tripped by Erik Karlsson, and his momentum carried him into the net with the puck. And I called Dave Jackson on this one, and he actually agreed with the call. But I think there was also maybe a rookie head coaching mistake here, Neil, because as soon as I saw this play, I thought the goal was good because it was the act of the defensive player, Karlsson, tripping Giroux, and that forced both Giroux and the puck into the net. Muse challenged and lost, and the Penguins lost 2 valuable minutes to try to tie that game late.
But their video guys upstairs must have told the guys on the bench, you should challenge. You should challenge. And I think the coaches pretty much go by what their video guys said. That's their full-time job, is to do that, rather than looking down at their feet at the monitor on the floor of the bench. So too bad for Pittsburgh. As you said, I thought that should count as well, the way that it happened. But obviously Pittsburgh tried and lost.
Here's another one. Kirill Kaprizov scored the game-winning goal in overtime for Minnesota against Montreal on Monday. Upon entry into the Montreal zone, Joel Eriksson Ek had a pick on Nick Suzuki. However, Eriksson Ek was stationary at the blue line and did not move into Suzuki. Suzuki actually ran into Eriksson Ek. And again, Dave agreed that this goal should have stood.
Well, you're allowed your ice. So if you're standing still, you're allowed to be in that spot. The same as in your favorite sport, the NBA, you're allowed your piece of the floor. And if you end up picking somebody, well, it's not your fault.
Are you watching NBA secretly?
Yes, I am at night. I do it while I'm in bed.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. All right. The last one is probably the most controversial of the 3. So Thomas Harley scores the overtime winning goal for Dallas against Winnipeg. And if there's a microcosm of how things have gone for the Jets this year, the defending President's Trophy winners in the NHL, this was probably it. So let me set this up for you. In the overtime, Miro Heiskanen hits Connor Hellebuyck in the mask with a shot. Now, referee Francois Saint-Laurent is on the other side, so he does not see the strap come loose on Hellebuyck's mask. However, Winnipeg gets the puck, and Mark Scheifele has a breakaway at the other end of the ice. Scheifele is stopped. Now, Saint-Laurent, referee, does not go back to Hellebuyck. He goes up the ice to chase the play, and Hellebuyck is trying to get his attention. And on the ensuing play down the ice, Minnesota enters the zone. Harley gets the overtime winner, and Hellebuyck, who is not very demonstrative in goal, really had an earful for not blowing that play dead.
But why didn't he shake his mask off? I mean, that's what all the other goalies do. When a strap comes undone, they make sure they shake their mask off their head, because as soon as the mask comes off, they have to blow the whistle.
And you could see the strap from the shot behind the net on the replay that it was clearly loose. And again, Saint-Laurent was on the other side, couldn't see it. Marty Biron made the point when he did a piece for TSN saying that perhaps Hellebuyck didn't want to do that for fear of having a delay of game penalty.
Well, it wouldn't be a delay of game penalty, because if you shake it off, it's obviously loose.
But if the referee didn't think that it was loose, I think that's...
Yeah, but the referees know you can't shake off a helmet that's strapped on properly.
But all in all, this is what's gone on with Winnipeg all season. It's they just can't catch a break.
No, anything that can go wrong does go wrong for the Jets this year, and it's too bad. I know that feeling. You've won the President's Trophy last year, and now everybody is disappointed beyond belief at your season you're having this year.
Harley once again victimizes the Jets because he knocked them out in the second round last season in Game 6 of the series between the two clubs. So is the most dangerous lead in hockey now 5-1, and it used to be the 3-goal first period lead or the 2-goal third period lead. But on back-to-back days, we had 5-1 leads disappear, of course, on Sunday in the Stadium Series. The Lightning came back and went 6-5 in a shootout. And then an emotional Monday for the Nashville Predators after it was announced that GM Barry Trotz was going to step down. They trail the St. Louis Blues 5-1 in the second period. Andrew Brunette pulls UC Saros for Justus Annunen. Predators come all the way back. They get it to 5-3 by the end of the second period, get a goal from Ryan O'Reilly early in the third. And then Steven Stamkos, with the tying and winning goals, number 608 and 609, he passes Dino Ciccarelli for 20th all-time and only one goal behind Bobby Hull. So things continue to look up for the Predators. They are still in wild card 5, but only 3 points out. And after the start they had this season, where everything appeared was going to continue to be off the rails for them, here they are.
Yep, they're still in it, and now they're in the search for a new GM, with Barry Trotz having said that he's going to retire when the season is over and he gets them through the draft. So we'll just have to see what the new GM brings and what's going to go on. Will Stamkos still be a Predator after the deadline? That's a question, too, because Stamkos may want to go to a contender, have his last hurrah at trying to win yet another Stanley Cup.
I want to point out a player here that I know we have not mentioned all season, but had assists on all 3 of those third period goals. And that's Luke Evangelista, who has 34 assists on the season, and he is in the top 30 in the NHL in that category. Now, that might not seem like that much, but for a team that has had trouble scoring, not only last year, but this one as well, this is a big contribution that this player is giving, and a big reason that the Predators are actually in bubble contention.
Yeah, it's true. He has come on. People didn't expect that. They've got other bigger names, but Evangelist has had a very good season to this point.
Another 4-goal lead that almost dissipated happened on Tuesday night. The Anaheim Ducks led Seattle 4-0 in the third. The game ended 4-2. But the last 2.5 minutes of that game was spent in Anaheim's end. Perhaps if Seattle did not wait 55 minutes to actually start playing in that game, that might have been a 4-goal comeback as well. The Ducks third in the Pacific and the Kraken in wild card 2. A couple of other things worth noting, Neil. Quinn Hughes had 3 assists in that wild win over Montreal. He's had 5 games in the 25 that he has played with the Wild with at least 3 assists.
Oh, well, he's a tremendous player. I mean, if you watch Quinn Hughes and the plays he makes, the play he made in that game to Kiprasov was just outstanding. The way he controls the game. There are others that do it. Certainly, Makar does it with his speed. Quinn Hughes does it through his cerebral understanding of where to go slowly with the puck. Just a terrific defenseman, and I would think would be in the top 3 for the Norris Trophy again.
We noted the Florida Panthers struggles at the start of this show and their loss to the Sabres on Monday. Remember the 2024 Eastern Conference Final? Who played in that?
Yeah, I do. It was the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers.
And where are they today?
The New York Rangers are at the bottom of the conference, and the Panthers aren't too far above them.
Last in the Atlantic Division. So how things have changed. And Matthew Tkachuk finally put it into perspective. He said, we're in trouble.
Well, they are in trouble. And if you were a betting man, you would bet right now that they're not going to make the playoffs. But there's every reason why they've been in this trouble, and most of them are in the infirmary. They've had so many injuries to this club. They just haven't been able to withstand it. And it hasn't been from poor play or poor coaching or even poor goaltending. It's just been they just don't have the depth on the team with all the injuries that they've had.
I think when it started out with Barkov and Tkachuk and Nosek, I'm like, okay, we're going to be able to sustain for a little while, but they've lost Marchand for a period of time. They've lost Seth Jones. They lost Dmitry Kulikov. And you keep losing that many quality players. No team's going to be able to survive, regardless of the coaching, regardless of the effort.
The good news is they will have Sam Bennett and Anton Lundell in the lineup tonight.
All right. And that game will be against the Boston Bruins. Some quick other personnel notes. Morgan Riley, defenseman for the Maple Leafs, missed Monday and Tuesday's game against the Flames and Oilers, respectively, with an upper body injury. Zach Benson of the Buffalo Sabres missed the overtime loss in Tampa Bay on Tuesday. He crashed into the boards early in the third period in their win at Florida on Monday. He actually scored earlier in that game. Philip Hedl, according to head coach Adam Foote, tweaked something and did not play in the third period of the Canucks' loss in Utah on Monday. He will not play Wednesday at Vegas either. It has now subsequently been reported that Hedl is dealing with migraines. And given the concussion history that this guy has, we said when he came back, I watched every shift that he had, and you get concerned if he has the slightest bit of contact.
Well, the poor guy, I mean, he's had so many concussions, and I know we all want to keep playing hockey as long as we possibly can, but I feel for Philip Hedl because I think he's going to be dealing with head issues for a long, long time.
One other injury note, Devon Toews returned for the Colorado Avalanche in Monday's loss against Detroit. He missed 13 games with an upper body injury. games we're going to be looking at over the next couple of nights before the Olympic break. On Wednesday, Boston visits Florida. Bruins holding on to that second wild card position in the East, while the Panthers just looking for a win so they have something good to feel about heading into the break. Also, Detroit at Utah, two clubs that have not made the playoffs in a long time. I think that's going to be a very good matchup. And Seattle at Los Angeles. These are the number 2 and 3 teams in the wild card chase in the Western Conference. And on Thursday, Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Penguins have lost 2 straight after a series of wins, and let's see if the Sabres can continue their strong play as they look for their first playoff appearance in 15 years. The Panthers will be playing the second of a back-to-back. They will be in Tampa Bay to face a Lightning team that has lost just once in regulation in their last 20. And the Kings, also on a second of a back-to-back, much like the Panthers are, they will be in Vegas to take on a Golden Knights team that is just 3-5-2 in their last 10.
2 other games that you didn't mention that I would tell our listeners about to take note of. The Oilers at the Flames. That's always a good game because those 2 teams are rivals. It's like Islanders and Rangers playing against each other, 2 Alberta cities going head-to-head. Then the other game that's going to be interesting to me is Islanders visiting the Devils. We've talked about the Devils and their troubles that they're having. The Islanders just squeaked by Pittsburgh in overtime. This is a game on Thursday that's going to be interesting because can the Devils get it going again? Or are they just going to fade into oblivion? And so I will take note of that game as well.
The trade freeze is at 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, and it will last until 11:59 p.m. on February 22nd. If there are any moves of significance, Neil and I will be on quick takes to address those moves. Some Olympic personnel updates. You'd mentioned Sam Bennett will be back in the lineup for the Panthers. He will be replacing Anthony Cirelli for Team Canada. And Braden Point, who has not played since January 12th, is expected to be able to play in Milan Cortina. And for the Finnish team, Joonas Korpisalo, goaltender for the Boston Bruins, will be replacing the Sabres' Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Our website is NHLWraparound.com, and our blog section, New York-centric Patrick Hoffman, talks about the New Jersey Devils perhaps just having too much of a hole to dig out of in order to make the playoffs. And Smith's picks coming to you on audio after the Olympic break.
Another good night last night, I might add. What was my record last night? I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, you were 4-2-1, but let's have total transparency here that you did start the night 4-0 and skidded at the back end.
Like there's anything I can do about that when I predict these winners early in the day. We'll see what comes, and I'm looking forward to doing it on audio. That's going to be more fun. More people will hear about it, and you won't have to go to the blog section of our website.
We will also have quick takes for any developments coming around the league during the course of the Olympic break, so look out for those. And reminder that we are on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. If you can leave a review, please do. And if you listen to us on YouTube, please subscribe. We are also on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Radiate.tv. NHL Wraparound returns on Friday. Mike Harrington from the Buffalo News as the Sabres try to chase down their first playoff spot in 15 years. And so looking forward to speaking with him because when we had him on in October, it was a much different story in Buffalo.
Yeah, it absolutely wasn't. He didn't see any positives at all. So it's going to be interesting to see a guy who's been there night after night tell us what the heck has gone on here to turn a cellar dweller into a playoff team.
21-4-2 since December 9th. Enjoy the hockey on Wednesday and Thursday, and we look forward to speaking with you again on Friday. Take care, all.